What's up, everyone? Thank you so much for checking out this video here on Shows, Style, and Spirit. I am Ebony, of course. And as you can see from the title of this video, I am recapping the latest episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. We have a lot to talk about, so let's jump right on in. But first, I do ask that you please hit the like button on this video. It will cause YouTube to recommend this video to more people who are still watching The Real Housewives of Atlanta. And also, if you have not already done so, please subscribe to Shows, Style, and Spirit. I do a variety of content, not just TV show recaps. I also interview some reality TV stars like Miss Van, Dr. Francis, and Kiki from Love and Marriage Huntsville. And I also talk about my natural hair journey with my dreadlocks and different, issues that pertain to women. So definitely check me out. All right, so let's jump right on in. So, episode 5 opens up with Kenya threatening to call the police on Marlo after Marlo was kicking, banging, and shouting for Kenya to open her door and come outside and talk with the ladies. So, in my opinion, Marlo did way too much. It's like a switch will just flip inside of Marlo's head, and she totally changes up. Manetta is even going to call her Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. It's bananas. But I feel like in these moments where she lacks the self control, I wouldn't even want to be around Marlo either. And I do think Sheree is going to say something profound to Kenya later on. So I'm going to save the rest of my opinion for when I get to that scene. So then we see Kenya is on Manietta's phone. Manietta puts her on speakerphone. The reason why the ladies wanted Kenya to come out of her hotel room was because they were wondering, why are we in Alabama? And I didn't realize that they did not know that Kenya was performing in the halftime show. I just assumed that they knew that that's why they were going to Alabama. Kenya wanted to surprise them. She wanted to surprise them and basically have them see her on the football field. So because they were wondering what was the purpose, why are we here? They kept questioning and they wanted her to talk, but Brooklyn was in the room sleeping and they really just overstepped their bounds. What I don't get is, I mean, there were clues, y'all. You're in Alabama, you're at a black college's fundraiser last night. You don't think it's in relation to a fundraiser? And hello, even if it's not adding up, what happened to the element of surprise? I would think, well, obviously she's surprising us with something because we don't know why we're here. And then once we were at the fundraiser, I would have thought like, oh, we're at some event for a black college. How cool. Can't wait to see which one it is, yada, yada, yada. Patience is a virtue, but whatever. And then probably what was most sad about this scene is that you can hear Brooklyn in the background saying, I'm really tired. So the women just kind of forgot that there was a child on board. And some people say, why do Kenya have to bring Brooklyn everywhere? But I think when you don't have a baby until you're like 47 or 48, you might experience some separation anxiety. And I do think that that's what Kenya goes through whenever she has to do a trip away from the baby. So she tries to make a way for her to tag along, which is fine. That's her kid. She carried her and birthed her out. So, she brings a nanny along. And I think she just wants to keep the baby close, which is fine. Y'all let me know in the comments what you think about Brooklyn always coming along on trips. I think it's fine because that's her kid. Who's going to tell her what to do with her baby? And like I said, she makes arrangements. She brings a nanny with her. So then we see where Marlo sends a nasty text to Kenya. You are a rude, selfish MF. Seek help, rude B. And she says some more things, and then she does like XOXO Marlo. So she totally just doesn't know boundaries. And once she's mad at you, she's just going to continue until you block that ass, okay? And my block game is strong. I have immediate family members blocked, okay? And just a little rule of thumb, if you get nasty texts and you have an iPhone, if you also have a MacBook and all your devices are connected and they try to unsend the text, those text messages will go to your MacBook because it's all connected. So they're thinking that they're unsending the trauma and the meanness, but you actually now it's a receipt. because they tried to unsend it. They did unsend it on the phone, but your MacBook captured it. If you don't believe the power of the MacBook catching people up, just ask Pastor John Gray, because that was how his wife Aventer. This is what she told Lonnie on the Real, that that's how she caught John Gray when they were on the talk show explaining him cheating back then a few years ago. It was because his text messages to the mistress went through to the MacBook, and Aventer, his wife, opened up the MacBook. So the MacBook, it can break folks up. It's a literal big receipt, y'all. But anyway, I just had to do that sidebar. So then we see with the ladies, they are congregating basically in the lobby. Sheree lets like Courtney and Marlo know Kenya is dancing in the halftime show at the college. And they were like, oh, so, that was all they wanted to know. And then, of course, there was no reaction like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I can't wait to see it. Oh, she was just trying to surprise us. There was like no revelation about it. They just skipped right on over, and then Marlo and Manetta were still going back and forth because Manetta was trying to tell Marlo that she was doing too much by kicking the door. And then as they were walking to the lobby after they left Kenya's room, outside the room, Marlo actually tried to slam a door on Manetta. So just totally disrespectful. I wouldn't even F with Marlo. If I ever had to film scenes with her, I would always sit away from her, try not to talk to her. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. So then we see where Drew has the flu and she actually could not go to Alabama. Now, what I will say is like, Drew always has an ailment. Remember last season when they were in Jamaica, she was running and she like injured like her ankle or her foot. And then the first season that we were introduced to Drew Sidora, season 13, her foot was broke. I believe that's how the season started for her. So I just hope she's all right. And then now she has the flu, which we're going to see. It sounds like that was like a thing in Atlanta at that time where everyone was getting sick. Ew. But yeah, Drew couldn't make the trip. So then we see Candy and Todd. They have a scene, where they're talking about Todd's new movie, The Pass. It's about a couple who gives each other a pass to, I guess, cheat. And I just feel like, oh my gosh, I hope that this is not symbolic of anything happening in real life. They say that art imitates life. I just hope this ain't imitating Candy and Todd's life. Y'all know I'm crazy about Candy. I respect anyone who is hardworking and successful, and her success inspires me. I'm a Bedroom Candy consultant, and on my Instagram, I'm always promoting various Bedroom Candy products. So Candy definitely inspires me literally every day. But yeah, I just thought that was interesting. I hope that it is purely fictional and nothing that Todd desires, okay? But anyway, Candy, when he pulled out his poster board of his movie, The Past, Candy was like texting, and Todd was saying, now when it's something that you're doing, I'm going to give you this same energy. I'm going to be texting. So, Candy was saying he gets irritated that, I'm super flexible with anything he does, his schedule. And it's like, yeah, Candy, because I feel like Candy is an empath and she's sensitive. So if he returns that energy, something she's working on, and he's just steady texting, she is going to flip. But Todd can always reference the scene. Absolutely. And Todd, this is season 15, episode 5, if you ever have to reference it. So then we see back in Alabama, it's the next morning after Marlo was kicking on Kenya's door. And Kenya says she doesn't feel good. She's dizzy. She cannot breathe. She was even a little disoriented and asked the producer, maybe she wasn't disoriented. Perhaps she just sincerely didn't know which town she was in. But she asked the producer, where am I? Because I can't even call 911. She was saying she can't even tell them where to come pick her up. So then the producer said, okay, I'm going to let you know where we are. And then Kenya dialed 911 for herself. She went away in a ambulance to emergency where they did a chest x-ray. They took her vitals. She had a fever, which made them want to run more tests. And that's where she learned that she had the flu. So then we see where Sheree is basically updating the ladies on Kenya's condition. They had no idea, but Sheree could hear the paramedics come and get Kenya. So she was letting them know, and then they said a prayer, and Marlo gave Manetta a hug. And again, that's just like, now it's like another personality is back in the next day. It's just way too much. That's just not normal. It's one thing to get mad, but it's another thing to be like kicking the door. And then Kenya says, Brooklyn is here. And Marlo didn't care. She kept cursing and yelling. It was almost like she amped it up once she knew that Kenya's baby was there, because she knew that Kenya is a mom and was protecting her baby. Marlo has like this strange, like, I'm not even going to call it strange because it's trauma to her being in different foster homes and her mom not being able to raise her full time. So she has like this desire for someone to mother her, and she wants that someone to be Kenya, it seems like, and Candy, or she wants Candy to pay for stuff. I don't know. So then we see, after Sheree updates everyone, they're in the hotel lobby. Sheree ordered Uber Eats so that they could have breakfast, and then they're just on their way back to Atlanta. Well, in this scene, they make a pact that they're going to continue this positivity, because in this scene, they're all kind of kikiing with each other, talking very positively. Manetta even stands up and shows them the routine that she choreographed for Kenya. And then Marlo said in her confessional that Manetta can dance. Manetta, she seems super duper positive and kind. She said that, I'm not going to be rude to Marlo. My kindness is my superpower. And I love that. I think that Marlo is classic taking Manietta's kindness for weakness. And I always thought that was so dumb of people when they do that. Don't assume that a person will just put up with your disrespect just because they're kind. They're kind, but they're not stupid. They're kind, they love themselves. They're kind, they're not going to let anyone disrespect them. So I think that Marlo is probably starting to get a taste of that from Manetta, and hopefully she does. I have to check out Manetta speak on it with DJ A1. The parts that I saw, he was being super duper goofy, and she was just like, oh my gosh. And then her husband came out, handsome man. So I have to check out the whole interview in its entirety. So then we see where Sheree checks up on Kenya at her house. She brings her some natural things with ginger. And Kenya's like, oh my gosh, thank you. And then Brooklyn comes home from a karate class. Brooklyn is super happy kid, very affectionate. She runs to Kenya, gives her this big hug. Kenya tells her to tell Sheree hi, and Brooklyn gives her a huge hug. I know that Kenya shows her baby so much love because Brooklyn is so affectionate, happy, and energetic. And I knew that she would be. From the moment I learned that Kenya was having a baby, I knew that this kid would be both smart and physically active, because those are two things to describe Kenya. Y'all just don't know. I love old school Roa, and my memory is long when it comes to the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I used to be so into it that the women used to have to type blogs on bravotv.com. And most of them, of course, didn't do it, or they would just do a few sentences about the episode. But when Kenya first joined Roa, those first couple seasons, she would type like paragraphs of a blog per episode. So it was like reading like a college midterm paper, but I loved it because she would give her perspective on things. She would talk about relationships. It was so dope. I don't know if Bravo TV kept their blogs. Cynthia's would be hilarious. She was like super duper funny. It was almost like she was writing like a comedic script. But anyway, so I just find Kenya to be very intelligent. So with Sheree and Kenya, they were talking, and she was updating her and talking about Marlo kicking her door. Sheree said, I cannot defend that. I cannot defend her kicking her door. Now, Sheree did a quick kick, but either she sincerely forgot, because we know Sheree will get stuff wrong. Ask Candy when they went to South Africa, and who said, that Kim wouldn't hold a black baby. She said that Candy said it when it was Cynthia. So either Sheree honestly forgot that she kicked Kenya's door, or she's just straight up denying it because she sees how low it was because she watched Marlo do it. Sometimes, you can see clearly into other people's actions, but you may be blind to, to what you did wrong. Nobody's perfect. But she denied kicking her door in her confessional. And she told Kenya, I cannot defend that. And then Sheree told Kenya, Marlo seeks your approval. And I was like, wow, I think that that's right. Marlo even told her life coach that she does admire Kenya. And I think that that's exactly it. She definitely wants Kenya to approve of her because she admires Kenya. So it's almost like, wow, if Kenya approves of me, then I must be a better person. I must no longer be the Marlo that slashed the girl's face at the club, So I think that Marlo is going to have to let that old version of herself go. And she's just going to have to not care if no one else approves her. And I'll be glad when she gets to that freedom, because I think she'll actually be able to control her anger better once she achieves that level. So then we see Mama Joyce come over to Candy's house. And they talk about her comments about Todd at BravoCon, where she says that she would have liked Candy to get a husband who had a decent job. And she called Todd short. Candy did not appreciate the disrespect. And I guess they went a few weeks without speaking. Mama Joyce actually says in this scene that Todd was a more meek and humble person when she first met him, which would have been like season 6, season 5. So then she says now he's like George Jefferson, like, they've accumulated all this wealth together through the restaurants. And, now he's acting like he's super rich and too good. Mama Joyce, stop the cap. Because if you thought he was a meek and humble person years ago, why were you dragging him through the ringer about marrying your daughter? If he was already a humble man, that should have brought you some ease of mind, knowing that he's not prideful, he's not going to be boastful or do anything for appearances. But if you thought he was humble back then, why were you giving him such a hard time back then? I don't understand. But we all know, allegedly, and in my opinion, that Mama Joyce, Candy even said it back in the day in her confessional, anytime I get close to anyone, she suddenly does not like them. And she wants me to stop being their friend, or she wants them to stop being in my life. And I think that Mama Joyce just always had that fear that if God forbid something were to happen, the spouse, whomever that spouse is, would keep her out of the riches, the estate. And I believe that Candy has something in place where that can never happen. Phaedra even told Mama Joyce that season 6, when Mama Joyce went to her office and asked her, how could you introduce her to one of the workers? And Phaedra said, you don't have to worry. Candy ain't stupid. And she's told me that, God forbid if anything were to happen, that you're going to be okay. Like I said, my memory is long when it comes to Roa, because I love this show. So then we get to the end and we see where this is Drew. She is meeting with Sheree and Kenya. And Sheree, she tried to give Sheree a hug. And Sheree's like, do you still have the flu? She's like, nope, that's negative for the flu. So she just gave her a high five. And then Sheree says, we have a problem. And they're going to talk about in the beginning of the next episode, Sheree have a problem with Drew telling a blogger that at the end of the season 4 reunion, when we saw Sheree give them She by Sheree products, Drew says that she took it all back. And she was like, I currently do not have any She by Sheree. I think they actually did fully discuss it at the very end of this episode, because Sheree says in her confessional, well, Drew, you can go on my website and make a purchase. So yeah, and Drew denies saying that she took everything back that she gave them on the reunion, which is weird. Why would you show some products that you're giving to them on the reunion and then ask for it back? That's ridiculous. Was it like products that you had for yourself in your house? So y'all let me know in the comments what you thought about this episode. I am sorry to hear that the ratings have reached a new low for the Real Housewives of Atlanta. The magic, the spark certainly isn't there like what it was like the first 9, I'll even say the first 10 seasons. A few weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I binge watched season 12, which was the Carnival 19 season, the last season that Nene was on, the season where they went to Greece and it looked like Nene was trying to spit on Kenya. And that wasn't a bad season. It wasn't. Because we had a lot of the people who have been there for a long time, like Nene, Cynthia, Kenya, Candy, Portia. I feel like that's like your core. I used to say that Sheree was the core, and it's just something not there. And I think what's not there for Sheree is Nene. You need, like, if you're gonna go this far with the originals, you need to have all of the originals. I have accepted at this point that Phaedra will not be back on the show. I've just accepted it. I'm not saying that I totally agree with it, but I do. I am sensitive to people having trauma, and if anyone lies on you and says that you were willing to drug someone to have sex with that someone, I get if that's just like too much and you don't f with them no more. I totally get that regarding Candy and Phaedra. So I've accepted that Phaedra won't be back on the show anymore. We still get to see her on spinoffs like the Ultimate Girls Trip. We're going to see her on the upcoming season of Married to Medicine. But I still feel like we do need some of those original people. And it's not so much like, oh, we got to have Portia. The show won't make it without her, or the show won't make it without Nene. As you can see, the show does go on without people, but that magic and that spark is not there. Excuse me. So we still do need Nene and Portia and Cynthia because that spark is just not there without them. But you all let me know in the comments, what you thought about this episode, what you thought about some of the originals coming back. Even what's sad with Nene, she's left such a negative taste in the Bravo execs' mouths with calling them allegedly racist that, I don't think they would ever bring her back. But I do think that that would be a nice little combo. Nene, Cynthia, Portia, Candy, Kenya, that's the core. And then anyone additional, the producers, you make those decisions. And then us viewers will give you the feedback. But please hit the like button on this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. Let me know your recap in the comments. And please subscribe to Show Style and Spirit if you have not already done so. I hope you have a great day. It's a Monday morning. It's going to be an amazing Monday morning. I already know that work is going to be busy though. But I'll talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.